Another New York national precedent will be established. The most aggressive women's equality platform in the nation is going to be in law in this state. And that's the way it should be.
New York passing a sweeping abortion law, allowing many abortions up until the day of the baby's birth. The move sparking outcry all across the country, with many Americans asking, how is this okay?
All right, here to weigh in is New York City's Archbishop, Cardinal Timothy Dolan. Cardinal Dolan, we thought of you right away because there's a Catholic governor cheering the fact that abortion would be legal in this state up until almost birth.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Please never use the word weigh in when I come on. I asked you to avoid that term.
Right.
Listen, no, thanks, Brian, for bringing it up. Ghoulish, grisly, gruesome, these are the words that people, independent observers, are using about this so-called Reproductive Health Act. The fact that he's a Catholic, as far as I'm concerned, has nothing to do with it. Any thinking human being that would want a baby, allow a baby to be aborted right up to the moment of birth. Any thinking, thoughtful, considerate human being that would think that a baby could be, the abortion procedure could go forward without proper medical care, as now doctors don't have to be there. Anybody that thinks that a baby who survives the gruesome abortion procedure and that a doctor is no longer required to attempt to save that baby's life, you don't have to be a Catholic to abhor those kind of things. I like what, remember Governor Casey in Pennsylvania? He's been gone about 20 years. So here's a liberal Democrat who said, a Catholic, by the way, who said, I didn't learn abortion was wrong in the catechism. I learned abortion was wrong in my biology books, in my study of law, particularly the Declaration of Independence and the 14th Amendment, and in ordinary common sense and human reason. This is just awful, and I don't know why we would brag about this. What bothers me, it used to be that our opponents, when it would come to pro-life, would say, look, we want to keep abortion safe, legal, and rare. They no longer find it a regrettable procedure. Right. They want it safe, legal, and rare. Are you kidding? Now it's going to become dangerous. A doctor's not even has to do it. It's going to become enforced because people with conscientious objection to this hideous procedure, healthcare workers, and there are many, are now going to have to do it, and it's going to become frequent. So safe, legal, and rare, forget it. It's now dangerous, it's now enforced, and it's now frequent. This is not good for our country. How can we brag about that? You pop champagne corks for that and drink Chablis and eat brie?
Well, look
you
at that.
Light up the Empire State Building?
Right, look at those images that we just put up, Cardinal.
Just somebody cheering about it? I don't get it.
Just the fact that the baby can be born alive and then they can terminate it. There are calls from people in the Catholic Church for Governor Cuomo to be excommunicated from the Catholic Church.
You're telling me. I get wheelbarrows of letters every day. I think that would be counterproductive myself. For one...
Well, he's not following Catholic doctrine.
Well, I don't know if but there's my point, Steve. We would be giving ammo to our enemies who say, this is an internal Catholic disciplinary matter. This is really not civil rights. This is really not biology. These Catholics don't have freedom when it comes to this. I think we'd be giving our enemies ammo.
But the Catholic Church, Cardinal, stands against abortion. And here is the most prominent Catholic in the state of New York, and he's saying, this is a good thing.
And the canon laws, which you, thank you, quoted, would also say that you have to use it for medicinal purpose, and you think that there's going to be a good effect that can come out of this. We have a governor that brags about it. We have a governor that uses his dissent from church teaching as applause lines. In fact, we have a governor that takes quotes from Pope Francis out of context to draw an artificial cleavage between the bishops of New York and the Holy Father himself. He's not going to be moved by this. So what would be the use?
Here's his quote. He said this in response to the criticism he's getting. He says, I've experienced that all my political life. I experienced that when I said a woman had a right to choose. I experienced that at an exponential level when New York was the first large state to pass marriage equality against the Catholic Church. So they've been against me on all of these issues.
And what did he get? A standing ovation. Yep. So he likes this. He likes being the PEC's bad boy when it comes to the Catholic Church. And
what about denying him communion?
Well, look, that's you're making me, I don't rarely get restless, but I am. That's kind of a pastoral issue that I think one has to talk to him about, and I think proper people have. And I'd be uncomfortable going into that, rather spiritual and pastoral. But that's a good point. Not denying him, he may have already said, I cannot approach.
Well, let me ask you something from a medical standpoint. We interviewed a doctor who agreed with another doctor who said that it's more dangerous on the mother to abort a baby in the 3rd trimester. He said it is better for her care to just deliver the baby. The problem, and then you think about all these moms that want babies and can't have them, you know, and these babies could be placed in wonderful homes.
Ainsley, that's another good point. Thanks for bringing it up. I'm saying, can't we work together for some positive mitigation of an unfettered abortion license? Can't we make adoption easier? Can't we help?
Yes, adoption easier.
Yeah, can't we make troubled moms and dads who are struggling through a pregnancy, can't we make it a little easier for them with the provision of medical care, with time off if they need it? Can't we help mothers with newborns a bit more? All these things, can't we at least say that people who find this a hideous procedure do not have to attend to it, a doctor or a nurse? Can't we at least say that if we know for sure that the heart is beating, abortion would not be allowed? The other side
these
wants
babies feel pain.
No
don't
compromise.
These babies at a 3rd trimester, don't they feel pain?
That's right. And what you said, too, physicians tell me that. You know, it'd be safer to say, Mom, if you want an abortion, go ahead and give birth to the baby, and then we'll terminate the baby. That, of course, is infanticide, but it's what we got now.
But what would you say, Cardinal, how do you stand, or does the Catholic Church stand on when the mom's life is in danger, where it's medically dangerous for her, when you have to make maybe that choice?
Ainsley, the physicians that you talk to say these days that's not too frequent. These days there's so many alternatives that does not happen. The Catholic Church would have a very rigorous pro-life stance that you could never, ever terminate the life of an innocent person, ever. Okay, whether that be in war, whether that be
the mother has cancer and the cancer's come back.
You could never purposefully kill the baby. There's enough there's enough thoughtful room there that there can be ways to save the life of both. Please,
Cardinal, clearly this law is a political calculation.
Yeah.
I don't know that you're going to talk directly to Governor Cuomo, but you know what? It's going to be on YouTube, your appearance. What would you like him to know about how you feel about this?
I would say, look, Governor, you and I have worked for a lot of time for common good, and this is one area that we could. But this is hideous. Do not brag about making the state of New York the abortion capital of the world. That is not an enlightened progressive posture. An enlightened progressive posture is that you take care of the smallest, most defenseless, innocent human beings, and I can't think of one more than the baby in the womb.
Cardinal,
let's work together to protect that life.
Cardinal, what do you say to the parents out there that need some Christian advice, or godly wisdom about raising kids in an environment like this? I mean, we live in New York City. I'm raising my daughter. I love the city, but the beliefs in the city are counter to many of the things that I grew up learning.
Are they ever?
So how do we raise our kids in this community now?
I just had a baptism yesterday on Sunday, which I try to do every Sunday. And one of the lines is to the parents and say, you are the first and the best of teachers. Don't give schools, the environment, TV, social media, don't give them sway over your kids. You are their first and primary teachers by your example and by your words, and count on people that do it. Make sure they have nurturing friends. Make sure they have the environment of a church. Make sure they have a school where their values are going to be buttressed and not thrown out the window. I was so sad to see Mrs. Pence be criticized because she teaches in a school that's based on biblical values. Does not the education of kids become first? Is that not the first priority of the mom and dad? Yeah, we need strong public schools to do that, to help us, but we don't let them take over when it comes to values.